Hey guys, this is Miss Denton, and I'm here to read a book to you called Andromeda Clark, North Pole Explorer. So in the back it says, watch out for polar bears. Why sit in history class when you can be on the hunt for North Pole with the famous explorer instead? Luckily for readers, Andromeda Clark is always on the move in her imagination anyhow. Andromeda Clark's history teacher droned on. Many people believe that Robert Peary was the first person to travel to the North Pole. There is some doubt, however, that he really found it, Mr. Relic said. Andromeda rolled her eyes. It was foolish, really. How in the past that men always got to do the exploring. Everyone always said they're terrible at directions. They never stopped to ask for help. Hadn't her dad driven them all the way to Hastings the other day? They were supposed to be going to Hudson's, which was completely in the opposite direction. Now, if she had been there with Perry, she began to daydream. Andromeda closed her eyes. In her mind, the classroom disappeared. Frozen waves of ice stretched away as far as the eye could see. She was wearing a new ski suit, of course, a self-heated one. After all, this was her daydream. She squinted into the glare of the sun on ice, reached into her pack and took out her sunglasses. Nearby 6 men argued among themselves, pointing and shaking their heads. Clearly they needed her help. Andromeda skied over to them. She had her new skis on, waxed for racing, of course. I really think north is this way, said Andromeda, pointing. The men saw her and their mouths dropped open. Where did you come from? Asked one. He looked like the picture of Commodore Perry in her history book. That doesn't matter, said Andromeda. Clearly you need some assistance finding the North Pole. Commodore Perry shook his head. It must be snow blindness, he muttered. Snow blindness plays tricks on people, or perhaps we are more exhausted than I thought. That's right, said Andromeda. You've been working really hard. Let me ski ahead and scout, sir. You can wait here and have a cup of tea. Tea does sound relaxing, mumbled Perry. Maybe we should rest a bit more before the last dash to the pole. Andromeda slid her skis back and forth as the men staked out sled dogs and began to build an igloo. You just have a nice rest, she said. I'll be back soon. With her watch, compass, satellite system strapped to her wrist, of course, Andromeda skied off. Luckily, Andromeda was a crack skier. The way to the pole wasn't easy, that was for sure. The bitter cold stole her breath and formed ice crystals on her hair and eyelashes. Underfoot, ice pushed against ice, forming high, rigid ridge that she had to climb over. Under the ice was the polar sea, not land. Tides and waves shoved and shifted the ice so that the wide cracks of open water yawned. One slip into the frigid water would mean certain death. Andromeda struggled on under the polar ice. As long as she didn't meet a polar bear, she would be fine. Finally, Andromeda watch read 90 degrees north latitude. The pole at last. She took out a flag that she had luckily tucked into her pack, and she planted it firmly in the snow. The flag snapped in the bitter cold wind, unfurling a large golden A for Andromeda. Andromeda skied back towards camp, following her own tracks. But something had walked over those ski tracks while she was at the pole. Something with paw prints bigger than her hand. Had a polar bear been stalking her? No matter. She had a way to travel that was faster than any predator. Andromeda pulled out a parasol from her pack and reached it up. With the polar wind pushing her on, she flew over the snow and ice. She arrived back at camp just as the men were finishing up their tea. Easy breezy now, Andromeda told them. Just follow my tracks and you can't miss the pole. But watch out for Andromeda. Miss Clark, Mr. Relic voice cracked. Polar bears, Andromeda finished as she opened her eyes. Well, perhaps you were listening instead of sleeping after all, harumphed Mr. Relic. Yes, polar bears were one of the dangers of polar explorations. Other dangers include blizzards and cracks opening up in the ice, not to mention temperatures well below freezing. Now for tomorrow, please read Andromeda smiled to the North Pole and back, all in 1 hour. Now, that was a history class. Learning more about the North Pole. Why didn't Andromeda just use a compass to find the North Pole? Compasses point to the magnetic North Pole, which is in a different location from the geographic North Pole. Luckily, Andromeda's watch used satellite communication. Perry and other explorers, however, didn't have that sort of technology to help them. Perry had to depend on dead reckoning, which involves taking readings of the position of the sun and doing calculations to figure out where you are. I wouldn't have made it. Polar exploration has always had a fascination for some people. In 1986, Anne Bancroft was the first known woman to travel to the North Pole, except, of course, for Andromeda Clark, North Pole explorer. Alrighty. I have 3 questions for you, and after each question, you're more than welcome to pause the video to discuss it with your family. The first question is, how did Andromeda feel in the first part of the story? Your second question is, how would you describe Andromeda's personality? What type of person was she? Your last one is, did you like the ending and what did you like about it? All right, guys, I miss you and hopefully I will get to see all of you very soon. But until then, just wait for my next video.